In a world drowning in noise, one thing has become painfully clear. Everybody has something to say. Everybody has a take. Everybody has a side, but nobody's thinking. They're just reacting, mimicking, pretending, and calling it truth. We live in a time where conformity wears a mask and calls itself virtue, where weakness is disguised as empathy. And silence, real silence, is almost extinct. So here's the question. What happens to the man who refuses it? What happens to the man who doesn't bend, doesn't play along, doesn't need the noise? What happens to the man who chooses to walk alone? Not because he was pushed out, but because something inside him can no longer sit quietly among the herd. They'll call him names: arrogant, cold, selfish, dangerous even. They won't understand him, and they won't try to. But deep down they know he's not weak, he's not broken. He's not lost, he's dangerous because he doesn't need their approval. And in a world built on fake connection and shallow validation, a man who doesn't need anything from the crowd is a threat to everything they believe. Most people today, they're not strong. They just look the part, they smile for the camera, they hit their step goals, they say the right things, but inside, they're addicted to being seen, to being liked, to being part of a group, even if the group stands for nothing. They wake up and reach for a screen, not because they care, but because it tells them who to be. It tells them what matters, what side to pick, what words to say, what to be angry at today, and they follow, blindly. They kneel for public opinion and call it maturity. They swallow outrage like it's breakfast. They cling to artificial identities like lifeboats, terrified of being different. They don't live, they react, and they call it progress. But it's not. It's the herd mentality, repackaged and resold with a hashtag. And most people are more than willing to buy it. Why? Because comfort feels better than truth. Because scrolling is easier than sitting with your own thoughts. Because being told what to think saves you the burden of actually thinking. And the worst part? They call this freedom. But it's not. It's slavery, the kind you can't see, the kind you choose. We've traded our chains for paychecks, our cages for curated profiles, but the result's the same. Most people today are managed, their beliefs, outsourced, their ambition, sedated, their attention, sold off to the highest bidder. They aren't chasing greatness, they're chasing comfort, and calling it success. They want the dopamine hit, the blue check, the likes, the illusion that they matter. But it's all smoke, and somewhere deep down, they know it. They know they're not really living. They're just going through the motions, hoping no one notices how empty it all feels. But once in a while, there's someone different, someone who looks around and says, "This isn't for me." Someone who feels the weight of the noise and steps back, not to hide but to see, to observe, to listen, to think, to become something that can't be manufactured, marketed, or monetized. That man, the one who walks alone, he's not lost, he's not afraid, he's not broken. He's just done pretending, done performing, done needing the world's permission to be who he is. And if that sounds like you, if something in your chest tightens when the world screams louder, if you feel the urge to disappear for a while, to separate, to reset, don't fight it. That's not weakness, that's your will waking up. That's your soul reminding you that you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand up, even if that means standing alone. Especially if it means standing alone, because the strongest men always do. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself in likes or retweets. It doesn't scream for attention or sit around waiting to be validated. Real strength is silent, cold, precise. It moves like a shadow, not a spotlight. And that's why most people never see it coming. The man who walks alone, he understands this. He isn't strong because he lifts more or yells louder. He's strong because he's disciplined, because he knows how to sit with discomfort without reaching for a distraction. Because when everything falls apart, he doesn't. His strength isn't borrowed from trends or titles. It's built, day by day, in silence, in solitude. He doesn't depend on crowds for courage. He draws it from something deeper, the kind of conviction that can't be faked and won't be shaken. Look around. Most people are terrified of silence. They run from it. Mask it with noise, fill it with content, blur it with endless scrolling. Why? Because silence exposes them and they're not ready for that. They don't want to face who they really are when there's no one left to impress. But the man who walks alone, he welcomes that silence. He uses it. He sits in the quiet long enough to hear what most people never will. His own mind, his real thoughts, not the ones he was fed, not the ones he's supposed to say, the real ones. And when you can hear your own thoughts clearly, you become unstoppable. Because now your direction isn't borrowed, it's chosen. And nothing's more dangerous than a man who knows exactly where he's going, even if no one else understands why. The herd can't stand that. They mock what they don't get. They label what they fear. They'll say he's cold, disconnected, self-centered. But let's be honest, they're not mad at him. They're mad that he's free. Free from their games. Free from their approval. Free from the invisible leash they all quietly agreed to wear. They call him antisocial because he doesn't need small talk. They call him arrogant because he doesn't explain himself. They call him crazy because he doesn't flinch when he's alone. But he knows something they don't. That every second spent trying to fit in is a second stolen from becoming who you really are. That's the trade-off, belonging or becoming. You don't get both. So he chooses becoming. He's not here to fit into this world. He's here to rise above it, to transcend it. And that path, it's not paved with applause or comfort. It's carved through resistance, through pain, through sacrifice. Solitude isn't punishment to him, it's power. It gives him the space to train, to study, to build, to create something no one else can because no one else has walked his path. That's why he doesn't beg to be seen. He doesn't fight for attention, he doesn't chase trends, he stays quiet, focused, patient, because he knows when the time comes, they'll all be looking for someone to follow. And by then he'll be too far ahead. You want to know what real strength looks like? It's saying no when everyone else says yes. It's standing still when the world is sprinting toward the edge. It's walking away from comfort on purpose, because you'd rather suffer for something real than rot in something fake. That kind of strength scares people, because deep down they wish they had it, and they don't. But you, if you feel it, if you know you were made for more than performing for a crowd, then maybe you've already started walking. And if so, don't stop. Because the world doesn't need more followers. It needs men who can stand alone. The man who walks alone isn't just avoiding people. He's choosing something they can't even imagine. He's choosing mastery, not the kind you rent for a few likes, not the surface-level grind they glorify online. Real mastery. Quiet, unseen, obsessive. The kind of focus that makes you forget what day it is. The kind that reshapes your mind, rebuilds you from the inside out. While others chase clout, he sharpens his edge. While they seek comfort, he runs into discomfort and makes a home there. He knows that everything worth having, clarity, strength, vision, purpose, comes with a price, and he's willing to pay it, every single day. Most people don't understand that. They want results without sacrifice. They want the crown without the crucifixion. But he's not trying to impress them. He's not even trying to be seen. He's building something sacred, something eternal. Because he's not here to trend. He's here to leave a legacy. Not just a career, not just a reputation, but a mark on the world, on history, on the people who come after him. He knows that real legacy isn't loud. It's not in headlines or algorithms. It's in how you move, how you choose, what you refuse to compromise for attention. While the herd plays games of identity, constantly rebranding, constantly reacting, he digs deeper into who he is, not who the world told him to be, not what sells, but who he was always meant to become. That kind of self-possession, it's rare, and it's threatening. Because when you know who you are, you can't be bought. You can't be manipulated. You can't be herded into a digital corner and told to sit still. And so the world tries to kill that part of you early. With distractions, with fake praise, with cheap dopamine and soft lies. It wants to keep you tame, keep you quiet, keep you scrolling. Because if you ever wake up and really commit to becoming what you're capable of, you'll break the system that keeps them all asleep. And the man who walks alone, he has woken up. He's seen through the illusion. He knows that so much of what people chase, fame, attention, status, is just a prettier form of failure. Because it doesn't last. It doesn't fulfill. And worst of all, it makes you forget who you are. But he hasn't forgotten. He remembers every time he chooses the harder road, every time he says no to the shallow and yes to the struggle, every time he picks discipline over distraction. He's writing a different story. Not a highlight reel, not a performance, a legacy, something real, something earned, something that speaks long after he's gone. And that's the thing about solitude. It isn't a void. It's a forge. It burns away the fake. It strips you down to what matters. And if you can survive that fire, you come out with something the world can't take from you. Self-control, clarity, conviction, power. Not over others. Over yourself. Because the loudest man in the room isn't the strongest. The one with the most followers isn't the most free. That's the man who can walk through chaos with calm in his chest. Because he knows who he is. And he doesn't need your permission to become it. The walker alone doesn't move with the crowd because he leads it, but not with words, with presence, with proof. He's not here to be liked. He's here to become a living standard, a man so disciplined, so complete, that his very existence is a challenge to every man still asleep. And most of all, he doesn't walk alone because he's bitter. He walks alone because he's becoming something the world has never seen before. We live in an age of masks. Not just the physical ones, they come and go. I'm talking about the deeper masks. The ones people wear when they smile politely while betraying themselves. The ones they put on every morning before going out into a world that rewards imitation and punishes authenticity. In this world, weakness is rebranded as kindness. Cowardice is mistaken for compassion. And the man who bites his tongue, conforms, submits, is called wise. But what they're really celebrating is his defeat. Truth is no longer prized. It's edited, filtered, framed just right to be palatable, clickable, safe. Say the real thing, and you're suddenly dangerous. Say the useful lie, and you're promoted. This is the upside-down world the walker alone sees so clearly. He sees how the average man isn't free. He's managed. His opinions handed to him by pundits. His beliefs downloaded from influencers. His values borrowed from groupthink. He thinks he's choosing, but every option was pre-approved. Every path is paved. Every truth comes with a price tag. But not for the man who walks alone. He's not swayed by applause. He's not guided by polls. He doesn't scan the room before speaking. Because he doesn't speak for approval. He speaks for truth, and truth isn't safe. It's raw, it's sharp. It cuts through the polite delusions people spend their whole lives protecting. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They want something soft to wrap around their laziness and call it enlightenment. They want to be told they're perfect as they are, even if they're miserable. But the walker alone, he doesn't want comfort. He wants clarity. He wants to see things as they are, not as he wishes they were, and that makes him a threat. See, society loves the man who plays along, even if he's empty, even if he's broken inside. As long as he smiles and complies, he'll be celebrated. But the man who stops playing, the one who calls it what it is, who stops pretending to care about trends, social climbing, and fake morality, he becomes a problem. Because he reminds everyone else of what they gave up, of what they could be if they had the spine. He becomes a mirror, and most people can't stand to look. That's why the true rebel isn't the loudest voice on social media. He's not waving signs or chasing clout. He's not signaling his virtue for approval. No. The real rebel is silent, still, rooted, because his revolution doesn't start on the outside, it starts within. When you stop needing the crowd, when you stop asking permission to think for yourself, when you stop apologizing for being different, you become a kind of man they can't control, and that's when the world gets nervous. The walker alone is immune to the shame tactics, the guilt traps, the manufactured outrage. They throw labels at him. They try to cancel him. They call him selfish, arrogant, dangerous. But they don't understand. He had to leave them behind, not out of hatred, but because they were dragging him down. He outgrew the games. He outgrew the narratives. He outgrew the need to belong to something broken. Because when a man commits to growth, really commits, there comes a moment when he looks around and realizes, no one else is coming with me. That moment hurts, but it's also the moment he becomes unstoppable. So yes, he walks alone, but not out of bitterness, not out of pride, but because he's done waiting for the world to catch up. He's building his mind like a fortress. He's protecting his spirit from the noise. He's rejecting the illusion, the virtue theater, the endless performance. Because he knows truth isn't loud, it's not popular, but it's powerful. And if you can build your life on it, if you can live it while the world plays pretend, then you're already free, even if you stand alone. There's a reason true strength is rare. It demands more than effort, more than ambition. It demands sacrifice. The man who walks alone sacrifices comfort. He gives up the warmth of the herd, the ease of going unnoticed. He steps away from the echo chamber, the fake smiles, the applause of people who don't even know themselves. And in return, he earns something they'll never touch. Power, not over others, but over himself. This kind of power doesn't come from shouting the loudest. It doesn't come from climbing fake ladders, checking fake boxes, chasing fake dreams. It comes from silence, from discipline, from a war fought behind closed doors every single day. You won't see his victories on your feed. You won't hear him complain, but you will feel him when he enters a room. Because the man who walks alone, that carries weight, not because he forces it, but because he earned it. The truth is, we don't need more men chasing influence. We need more men building inner infrastructure. We don't need more noise. We need more direction. Everyone wants to lead, but few have led themselves. That's why leadership today feels empty, but not the walker. He doesn't lead because he needs followers. He leads because he can't not. His solitude taught him clarity. His suffering taught him empathy. And his silence taught him restraint. He doesn't just inspire, he embodies. And here's the twist. The man who walks alone doesn't always stay alone. Eventually others feel the same pull, the same hunger, the same disgust for the hollow life they were told to love. And when they see his footprints, the ones carved by pain, precision, and purpose, they finally understand. They're not alone either. That's how a legacy begins. Not by demanding attention, but by deserving it. Not by chasing trends, but by building truth. So if you feel that pull, that pressure in your chest that whispers there's something more, don't ignore it. That's your will waking up. That's your real self trying to claw its way out of the noise. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for everyone to understand. They won't. Just start walking. And yes, it will be hard. It will be lonely. You will be misunderstood. But eventually, the silence will become your sanctuary. The solitude will shape your spirit. And your very existence will become proof that strength is still possible. The world doesn't need more clones. It needs more walkers, more men with the courage to go first. And if you're one of them, you already know what to do. If this message hit something real inside you, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe for more. Not just for the algorithm, but because every view, every voice, every person who gets it helps build a community of men who aren't afraid to walk alone. Your path starts here. Let's walk.